What makes a person of interest? Coach Michael Burt cuts to the chase, interviewing some of the biggest names in the world. How do they think? What makes them tick? What are their thought processes? And how they became a person of interest.
Hey guys, this is Coach Michael Burt, the Super Coach. Many years ago, I wrote a book called Person of Interest, How to Become the Person Other People Want a Piece of and Cannot Live Without. After speaking at 10X last week and spending time with some of the biggest names in the world, including our guest today, I thought maybe it was time to revive this podcast. Maybe it was time to revive this concept, because I believe that people should aspire to become people of interest. I believe people of interest move the world. I believe people of interest have big ideas. I believe people of interest are attracting business to them versus chasing business. So in this podcast, we're going to go inside the mind of a person of interest. What are the ingredients of a person of interest? What are the thought patterns of a person of interest? Okay. Today I have a very special guest, good friend of mine, the founder of Lightspeed VT and an ultimate person of interest, the real Brad Lee. Brad, how you doing today?
Man, I'm fantastic. Thanks for asking, Coach.
You and I connected on this concept of person of interest in Nashville, Tennessee. We were having dinner at Fleming's Steakhouse, if you remember.
I do.
And I think I just come out with this book, Person of Interest. And we kind of went back and forth about why should a person be a person of interest? From your perspective, why should a person aspire to become a POI? Not a POS, a POI.
Right. Well, I mean, I think because you'll attract more opportunities, because things come to you without much effort when you're a person of interest. Obviously, as you know, the name elicits, being a person of interest means that people are interested in you. And if that's the case, it becomes attracted rather than you running around trying to get the interest. It automatically shoots out. Well, that's one reason.
Let's talk about your journey in becoming a person of interest, because you initially wanted to become famous. Did you want to become famous when you were an actor, or wanted to be an actor? Did you want to be a person of interest for the fame, for the notoriety? Because you have an element of celebrity about you. You're a flashy guy. You got great hair. You got great teeth. You got great looks. You got a good looking wife. You got good looking kids. I mean, all of this plays into person of interest. Did you have a little baby dream of becoming a celebrity at one point?
I did. When I was little, 6 years old, I was always planning to be, well, I used to say a movie star, but technically an actor. Went out, did the Hollywood thing, went to auditions, was in a Levi's commercial, had a couple roles in some TV shows, followed that path until one day I found out that my part had been given to a producer's son. And when I asked, how does that happen? Ultimately found out the word nepotism, which ultimately means the person with the money makes all the decisions, and I wasn't that person's son. So that's where I decided I'm going to go, become a millionaire. So I'm the guy with the money, and then I'll make the decisions. I just didn't know that'd take 30 years. So that's where I took a detour. But, the journey's not over. I might end up a movie star still.
I can see you in a movie, man. If I could just play a small part in that movie, I would appreciate that.
I think, didn't you already play a big part in a movie?
Yeah, I played a part in a reality TV show that I created. Part of that reason was to create this person of interest status and to raise our status, right?
That's right.
Let me ask you this question. You work with lots of people of interest, yes. From Damon John to Tony Robbins to Grant Cardone to who's the network marketing pro?
Eric Worre, Eric Thomas. I mean, the list goes on. I'm a very fortunate individual. I am connected beyond belief. I've got, millionaires and billionaires up and down my Rolodex, which is now an iPhone. I'm very blessed. I'm very connected. All my clients are people of interest.
All right. So you get to, on a daily basis, spend time with, pick the brains of, hang out with people of interest. When they come to you, what would you say are the main ingredients all of these people have? Because I can't think of many people who get to spend as much time with people of interest as you. I mean, on a daily basis, I get to coach some pretty good people. But you literally every day at Lightspeed, there's somebody who's incredibly interesting in there. You got to be learning from all of these cats. What are some of the ingredients?
Well, just to let you know, I learn from everyone, whether they're a person of interest or not. I learn from 2-year-olds. I learn from everybody. I learn from homeless people. So I'm one of those people that kind of absorb data everywhere. Assess it, and file it for later, or learn from it and start applying it immediately. But to your point, yeah, I do learn from them all. I learn from everybody. And I think the one thing that I would say that they all possess would be confidence, and really just confidence. In other words, they believe in themselves. They believe in what they do. They believe in their service, and they have confidence.
Now, when you look at the person of interest ingredients, okay, these are the ingredients. You tell me if you agree with or disagree with some of these ingredients.
Okay.
The ingredients in the book of person of interest are these: specific knowledge, impeccable skills, inconvenient desire, contagious confidence, high levels of likability or connectivity, deep networks. Do you agree with all of those ingredients of people of interest?
Not always, but I disagree that you need all of those to be a person of interest. I believe that people of interest oftentimes possess those, yes.
All right, so when you're looking at these people, because a lot of people are going to ask, do you have to be likable to be a person of interest?
No, not necessarily.
What do you think trumps likability? Is it skill? Is it knowledge?
Could be skill, definitely skill or knowledge. I mean, look, like Michael Jordan, right? Maybe he was the biggest jerk on the planet. He's still a person of interest.
Yes, yes. So does money, or because one person said to me when I first wrote the book, Person of Interest, hey, the people with the most money are people of interest. That's it. It's all about money and status. The people at the highest pecking order are the highest people of interest. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Okay. Now, when you think about...
I'm more interested in who you are and what you can do and what you know and how you can help than I am about how much money you have.
And for all the flash that you have, I really do believe you do have a deep care for people. You do value relationship. You do value people. You do want what's best for people. Do you think some of that is, have you seen some of that is fake between some of the big time people? Insincere? Is it, because Covey used to talk about this. He talked about the character ethic and the personality ethic. And the character ethic was who a person really was. They had deep character. And then there was personality techniques that people use. Because I met a lot of people at 10X. Some of those were famous. Some of those were not famous. Some of those I said, it's all personality, man. They don't really care about me. They don't care about Coach Burt. It's just they just pretend to care about Coach Burt. And it's interesting because you get kind of a feeling about a person if they really, really care about that. Do you see personality ethic a lot?
Restate the question, Burt.
All right. The question is do you think lots of these people of interest that you come across or spend time with, do they get by on personality, or do they have a deep longing care about people? Do they really care about people? Or is it just a facade? Or is it, we say in my small town, a facade?
Well, again, it might be a facade. Look, you're the one that's putting the definition on what a person of interest is. So in my mind, a person of interest is somebody that is interesting to people.
Yes.
So I might be answering these questions incorrectly because I don't know what you mean, because you wrote a book and you have a definition of person of interest. So when I'm answering by my definition, which is if you are interesting to anybody, and the more people you're interesting to, the more of a person of interest you are. That's how I'm answering. So if it matches, great. But if it doesn't, I wanted to establish that, because when I answer these questions, it's based on my definition. So when you say, do you have to have a deep care for people to be interested? No. You need to have skill, you need to have confidence, and you need to have some facets to you. I mean, there's a lot of people with egos and they run around bragging about themselves and they're not interesting at all. Matter of fact, they're dull. So just those things doesn't matter. I think it helps if you genuinely care about people. You'll become more interesting to real people. See, the difference is who are you trying to be interesting to? I can go out in a Ferrari and attract all kinds of dipshits. Or are you editing this? Maybe I should say dummies. But that doesn't mean that just because you're attracted to a Ferrari, you're shallow, right? Because I like Ferraris, you like Ferraris, people of interest like Ferraris. But my point is I think there's all kinds of people out there, and a lot of them are interesting until you get past the shell and realize that they don't care about people and they don't, have these attributes that you're listing off, which starts to dull them and starts to create the opposite effect. It's like sometimes when you meet a girl or a girl meets a guy and you don't talk yet, you just look at each other and they're very interesting, they're very attractive, you're highly interested, and then they start talking and you lose interest really quick.
Go ahead. Why I'm laughing about this is because at one time I dated a person that was maybe 10 years younger than me, and on paper and by look she was incredibly interesting, but we had absolutely nothing in common. And so she would come over to my apartment at the time through the week on a regular week and bring a case of beer or a fifth of Jack Daniels on a Tuesday night. And I kept going, I can't, I don't drink like this through the week. Like I have important things to do. What I figured out was there really wasn't anything underneath the surface. So the way she compensated is we had to drink because we didn't have anything in common. So to your point, when you check under the hood, there really wasn't a lot under the hood, and it was all surface things. Well, you said something that I want to pull out here because I do agree with you 100%. I actually wrote this book before my person of interest score went up. It's still not as high as I'd like for it to be, but it's going up. There are person of interest indicators that a person can do, right? There are things that raises a person's status. 2 or 3 years ago, you decided to make a big push on your person of interest score, in my opinion. You started doing podcasts, you started doing videos, you started doing all of these things, and that raised your status in the marketplace. Do you think those things are necessary in today's market, or do you feel a burden for you to continue to do these things on a consistent basis?
No, as far as the burden question, no, not at all. Do I think it helps? Yes, but not for the reason you are driving towards.
Okay.
I think the social media gets you attention. And the attention by volume shows more people who you are. And then if you're interesting, you don't need that to be interesting. You don't need anything to be a person of interest. You can be a person of interest living in a hut in the middle of a mountain. But if nobody knows about you, your interest level is low. So you would not be, by your definition, a person of interest. However, my definition, I remind you again, is a person that's interesting. There are a lot of people that nobody knows that are incredibly interesting people, and nobody knows them, so therefore they're not a person of interest. Definition. My definition, they would still be a person of interest. The social media just exposes you to a wider audience, so more and more people find you interesting, so your score goes up. When in reality, you were just as interesting before you did all that.
Now, I've never met a lazy person of interest for the most part. Now, I watch people to get to where they are today. And I've never seen people that become people of interest that are really lazy. I mean, when you're making moves, when you're dropping bombs, when you're doing these things, I mean, this requires work. It requires effort. I mean, do you think people of interest really have to work at being people of interest?
Do they have to work at it?
Yeah, I mean, do you meet lazy people of interest? Or I mean, do you meet people that come in and say, I sleep till noon, eat Cheetos, I don't work very hard? Or the people that you interact with? I see the people you interact with. Tony Robbins, huge engine. Cardone, huge engine. Damon John, huge engine. I mean, I just say I've never met a lazy person of interest. I mean, people of interest work hard, man, to be people of interest.
I mean, well, again, by your definition, no, I've never met a lazy person of interest. My definition, yes, I've met a few less than enthusiastic people of interest, and that's part of why they were interesting.
Yeah.
They were interesting because they almost went against the norm.
Mm.
Have you ever seen the movie True Romance?
I have not.
Well, you need to write that movie down.
Okay.
That happens to be my all-time favorite movie, and I'm a movie buff. Right? I've seen so many movies you can't even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And in True Romance, which is a Quentin Tarantino movie, one of his first ones, is an incredible movie. Well, Brad Pitt plays a part in that.
Mm-hmm.
He maybe has 2 scenes. He's a weed smoker that sits on a couch and does nothing. Well, when you watch that movie, call me when you're done and tell me if his character was interesting.
Okay. Yeah. I see where
Because you're going to say, yeah, I loved his character. You were incredibly interested. Like, you wish the camera would have stayed with him. In the movie, his character is called Floyd. You want to stay with Floyd to see what Floyd does the rest of the day, even though it's going to be smoking out of a honey bear bong and watching TV and interacting with the people walking by. But again, that's my definition.
Yeah. I think you and I are in alignment on this definition. Here's what I would say. People of interest typically live interesting lives. They hang around interesting people sometimes. They do interesting things. They go to interesting places. Some of them make interesting money. They do unordinary things, is what I'm saying. They create unordinary concepts. They shoot for unordinary things. I mean, you wake up and say, I want to drive $1 billion. I want to create $1 billion company. Well, the average cat out there doesn't wake up and say, I want to create $1 billion of value.
I see. Again, I disagree, Coach Burt. I think they all do. What the difference is, though, is I believe I can.
Yes.
Which is why when I first started, what is the one thing all people of interest that I've noticed is they're all confident. Like, if you wake up and you don't even think about $1 billion, it's because you don't believe you can do it. You have no confidence in your ability or the American dream or any of that. So you mentally fail yourself. And that, I would say, there's never been a person of interest that I've ever met in any shape or form that doesn't believe in themselves. Again, with the exception being some extreme opposite of that. Like, if I saw someone that was just almost the extreme opposite of confident, what would that be?
Insecure.
Like that would be interesting if I saw somebody that was extremely neurotic and insecure, but they would only be interesting for a moment. Then eventually it would get old and I would move on. So yeah, the person of interest, I think, is confident. And when you said most people don't wake up and think about $1 billion, I disagree. I think most people wake up and dream about $1 billion.
Okay.
Most people wake up and want to do it, but they don't believe they can. You want to do it, don't you?
I do.
I know Grant Cardone does, Tony Robbins does, Damon John does. I know people that are just starting up that, in my opinion, have no shot of ever doing it because their service is not scalable. Mm-hmm. But they think they are and they want to, and it's interesting. And I cheer for them.
One of the things that makes you a person of interest, from my perspective, is you have a extreme clarity of thought. You ask great questions. You do challenge and push back on people with an enormous amount of confidence. Where does that come from in you? Where did that, is it your unique past? Is it your, is it who you read or study? Is it who you've been coached by? Where does this enormous amount of confidence come from in you?
As a kid growing up, I had very little parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And I had older brothers and sisters that kind of ignored me also, but, obviously made sure I stayed alive. So they didn't, they didn't bring me with them to their friend's house, et cetera. So I was kind of on my own a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're on your own, you make a lot of mistakes. And when you make a mistake, the good news is you learn the opposite as well. So I've made a lot of mistakes, and through mistakes you learn and you learn and you learn. And ultimately, then you start making a lot of great choices, right? And when you're on your own, you kind of have to survive, right? And when you survive, you kind of start to feel like, look, I'm capable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and next thing you know, those little wins add up to confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I used to say I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock and go out and do something, you know, that's what I would do. I would start doing what I said I was going to do, and just the little tiny bits of successes and confidence grew and grew. And now, again, it's not ego, it's confidence. And the reason why I'm confident is because I don't care if you like me or approve of me.
Mm-hmm.
I like me and approve of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm always going to do the right thing. And you can't put me down and make me feel bad because I like me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think some people of interest do not need validation from other people. And because I always tell people, what if you have a great day and you don't get any validation?
Okay.
Did you still not have a good day? No, you still had a good day. Only person that knows whether you had a good day really is you. Your wife doesn't know, your kids don't know. Nobody knows except you, right? So let's talk about how you drive your status. Because I think a lot of people that are going to listen to this podcast are going to say, my status is low because I don't have I don't have low status in the world. How do I drive my status up? What specifically would you tell them to do to drive up their status?
Always do the right thing, you know, try to help others. I think my status goes up because people find value in me. Why do you think they find value? Because I try to do nothing but help those people out. It's trust. That's my answer. Trust drives status, in my opinion.
In every interaction you have with other people, just so they trust you.
Yeah, but again, money also drives status. I mean, I've made a lot more money over the last five years. You know, material things drive status. Children, beautiful wives, beautiful trips, beautiful Instagram, beautiful clothes, beautiful watches, beautiful offices, beautiful clients, you know, beautiful friends, beautiful vacation homes, beautiful answers. It all drives status.
Now,
but let me ask you, status for who? Because again, if you're talking about surfacey bullshit, then a Ferrari means something. Because I can tell you right now, I have some really good friends that don't make a lot of money, and they're really good people, but they don't not make money because they can't. They're happy doing what they do. You know, they go save orangutans in Thailand or wherever. They build orphanages, you know, in third world countries. And teach people how to build schools to educate their children. You know, they survive, but they're not rich. You know, they're coach of their kids, you know, baseball team, and they spend all their time raising their kids. And, you know, to me, that's how you grow status with me. Like, if you cheat on your wife, most guys will give you a high five. I won't. Yeah. Like, if you cheat on your wife, don't tell me about it because I'm not going to think you're cool. So that's how you drive status with me. So I think, again, the word status, you have all these words that I think have multiple meanings.
No, I think a person that's pursuing their pursuit, they're leveraging their talents in the world to do anything that's advancing society, advancing people, are people of interest. I do believe that. Not necessarily with money, but in their time and their energy, the distribution channel, their talents. They're just cool people.
Yeah, good people.
They're good people. When I'm saying cool, I mean a person that I admire, respect. They're doing something big. That makes you a person of interest. Just something cool, interesting.
Yeah. And by the way, if I took this out and showed you the sword, would that be even more interesting?
As long as you don't like chop off your right foot or leg with it.
No, but I mean, if I pull out the sword, would it be more interesting?
Yes, it would. It would be more interesting.
When I undo it and you realize, oh, There's no sword. So like I was interesting a minute ago, but my interest score went down. Why? Same reason when a guy does a magic trick the first time, he's the coolest dude at the party. But when he tries to do the same trick over and over, he becomes the nerd.
Yeah. All right, I got 2 more questions for you, and I appreciate your honesty and answers on these. What's your moonshot? We heard Naveen talk about these moonshots. What's yours?
My moonshot is to fix education, and by fixing education, I really want to fix poverty. And the word poverty makes it sound so dire. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about all kinds of poverty, but I'm talking about low income. I think the majority of poverty in the United States can be avoided. And the way it can be avoided is to bring the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. I don't believe that everyone that's poor is lazy. I don't believe that everyone that's poor deserves it. I think that everyone that's poor doesn't know the information necessary to make money.
It's good.
So why is that? Why don't they? Because our education system's broken, for one. We're producing people that don't know how to have an education. They don't know how to have a relationship. They don't know how to leverage their credit. Our education system's broke. So my moonshot is to leverage the Lightspeed technology, because our technology is the only current technology out there that's affordable, that's real. I'm not talking about NASA or some crazy stuff. Our content, our platform allows subject matter experts to scale and reach places that normally they would never walk into. There's no ROI. How do I get the top subject matter expert out to a poor family in Alabama, or some parts of Nevada, or some parts of Tennessee? Especially Tennessee, you guys got them hills.
Yeah,
you got them hillbillies out there.
Hillbillies, rednecks.
I went out to Tennessee one time, and I had a suit on, and this is not a joke. And I was with my buddy JB, and we go out to, I think it's his little brother's house, who's married to this girl. So we get finally out to this house in the trailer, and I walk in, and the girl comes out, and her mouth drops, and she said, "Honey, come look. He's got one of them jackets that matches pants." And he said, "Is that one of them there suits? You call them a suit?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? This girl never saw a suit in her whole life. They weren't lazy, dude. The dude was jacked. He was out chopping wood. He was out fixing fences. She was doing all kinds of hard work. Dude, they don't have the right knowledge. My moonshot is, let's get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. Let's fix education. Instead of making everybody adapt to the curriculum, let's get the curriculum to adapt to the student. Let's take into consideration their personality, their background, their interest levels, their personality styles, their learning styles, and let's modify the education system so that we can affect the poor. I don't think anyone in the world should ever know what it feels like to not be able to buy your kids Christmas presents. I don't think there's a single mom out there that should have to work 5 jobs and not get to see their kids just to raise and support their kids. So that's my moonshot. Eliminate poverty, or fix education so we can eliminate poverty, or at least make it optional. Because look, if you want to drink, and hang out on the street homeless, more power to you, man. But if you're homeless because you can't figure out how to get out of your own way, well, there's coaches that can help anybody. Coach Burt, you should consider creating your own TV show, even if you have to pay for it yourself. This is what I would do if I were you, because again, you're a coach. I'm not a coach. I'm not trying to make a living as a coach. No one's ever known me as a coach. I've never been a coach. I can give you information that I know, right, that's worked for me, but I don't know if it'll work for you. You're schooled and trained to coach individuals to grow and expand. If I were you, I would go out on the street and I would find, and again, I'd be selective because you don't want to waste your time, but I'd go out on the street and find maybe a homeless person that if you went down and got the dude a haircut and a shave and a little studio apartment and you coached him for 90 days, watch what a homeless dude turned into with Coach Burt.
That's good.
And call it like the average Joe.
Yeah.
Document a 90-day transformation that you take off the street. You take a camera with you and you videotape you going down to Skid Row and talking to the homeless, finding one that has the desire, but they don't have the knowledge. You've got the knowledge. School that individual for 90 days. And dude, I guarantee you, in 90 days, they'll be working in a job. They will be renewed. And that's your show.
That's good. That's good.
You take the average Joe and turn him into something. Or, coal miner. You're the coal miner. You find lumps of coal, turn them into diamonds.
Nah, I like that. Man, that's some good stuff today.
You find a person of indigence.
All right, guys. Listen, Brad, I want to thank you for joining me today on the very first episode of Person of Interest. I do think this is going to be valuable for a lot of people out there in the world. I do think we should aspire to become some person of interest or person of influence in the world. And I think over the next, we're going to be spending time with more people like Brad Lee. You could spend more time with Brad Lee and I in a close proximity to us down in Seaside, Florida. That retreat, we actually sold 2 more bedrooms today to that retreat. So we do have some singles available. Yes, sir.
You know why you did?
Why is that?
Because I am a person of interest.
That's right. And people want to spend time with you. Hey, imagine spending 3.5 days with this guy, close proximity, living in the same house.
Hey, let me tell you something. It's going to be a great time. You know why? Because you're going to have Coach Burt bringing the real and me bringing the real. Right? That's what I'm saying. Like you'll bring the value and the structure. So if I screw it all up, you're still leaving with your money's worth. But I'm bringing the real.
The real.
You're bringing the real, and it's gonna be a real good time. I mean, I guarantee you, everyone there, Coach Burt will tell you it was the best time ever. Why? Because you know what? I'm gonna bring the real.
That's right.
When you walk out of there in 3 days, we're not going to sit there with some clipboard. You might. I'm not.
No.
I'm not going to have some agenda that I want you to learn about. I'm going to talk to you and share with you some things, introduce you to my wife. We're going to drink wine, have good food and good conversation, and build good relationships. And if that's not worth the money, then you shouldn't go, first of all. And not only that, you miss the biggest tip on the earth that you can get about becoming successful. Because listen, relationships. The only reason I'm successful is relationships that I have.
Yeah.
That's how I going to the right place, meeting the right person, shaking the right hand, starting the right conversation, going to the right restaurant.
Yes.
Finding the right customer. Why? Because I went to the right place, shook the right hand. This is one of those places, folks. Get out your comfort zone. Let's roll.
I love it. Bradley, thank you for joining me on Person of Interest, first episode. Wouldn't have anybody else in the first episode except you, big guy. So I appreciate you. Hey,
I'm honored for being the first, man. That's awesome.
Absolutely. All right, big guys. This is Person of Interest. I'm Coach Michael Burt. That's the real Brad Lee. Go out there and become a person other people can't live without.